Week 6 of Big Brother 26 has come and gone, and I fully expected this week to be pretty predictable. A 6th Avenue member won HOH, so I fully expected a non-6th Avenue member to be going home. But leave it to Big Brother 26 to turn a straightforward week into yet another unpredictable and chaotic one. A combination of indecisiveness, passivity, and a player striking from the shadows at the perfect moment created yet another perfect storm. But how did it all break down? Well, that's why I'm here. In this video, I'm going to be recapping the events of week 6 of Big Brother 26 and giving my updated power rankings. So with all that preamble out of the way, it is the one and only RJ21 here, and let's get into the Big Brother 26 week 6 recap and power rankings. Week 6 starts off with the Soundbites HOH competition, where HouseGuests have to watch a compilation of clips with sound effects associated with each clip. HouseGuests have to pay attention to details about the overall compilation and then answer true or false questions about said compilation. Get the answer right and you stay in the game, but get the answer wrong and you're eliminated. The last HouseGuest standing will become the new head of household. Ultimately, the competition came down to Chelsie, Joseph, Rubina, and T-Core, and after only 3 questions, T-Core is the new head of household. To say that the house was elated that T-Core won HOH would be an understatement, as everybody was overjoyed over the fact that T-Core won HOH, particularly Kimo and Rubina, as they literally could not stop sobbing tears of joy over the fact of how happy they were that T-Core won HOH. Similarly to Tucker, T-Core went to work with her HOH and immediately solidified an alliance with all of the people she genuinely wanted to work with. She established an alliance between herself, Kimo, Rubina, and Tucker, and they call themselves the Friends with 4 Z's. After this, we learn about who secretly became the AI Instigator, who is going to be creating chaos throughout the entire week, and it is revealed that Tucker is the AI Instigator, and his first act of instigation is an all-time great one. He chooses to use the deepfake of Quinn to spread rumors that Tucker and Rubina are in a showmance and that Rubina should have been taken out and the Pentagon should have been kept strong. Tucker initially wanted this to be a joke, so that way him and Rubina could openly be a showmance, but this did not work out that way, as Rubina took this to heart and she started crying over the fact that she felt kind of worthless in this game and how she felt undervalued and how she thought she was putting both her game and Tucker's game at jeopardy because of their showmance, and Tucker felt really regretful about this whole instigation thing. T-Core then has her conversation with everybody outside of the 6th Avenue to see where everybody's heads are at. She first talks with Chelsie and essentially tells her that she is going to be safe and essentially gives her immunity for the week, which is great for Chelsie. T-Core then has a conversation with Makensy, where Makensy essentially says that she's going to be targeting nearly all of the people that are close to T-Core, which basically incentivizes T-Core to target and nominate Makensy. T-Core then has a conversation with Leah, where T-Core tries getting information, but Leah gives absolutely nothing, which is very alarming for T-Core. T-Core then finally has a conversation where Cam essentially does the same thing as Leah and gives absolutely nothing, which incentivizes T-Core to nominate Cam as a potential pawn. At this point, it seems pretty clear that T-Core is most likely going to be nominating Makensy, Leah, and Cam. However, Tucker decides to volunteer himself up as a pawn as an act of good faith to help T-Core have as smooth of an HOH as possible because they are in multiple alliances together, and T-Core takes Tucker up on this offer. So, at the nomination ceremony, T-Core chooses to nominate Makensy, Cam, and Tucker, with Makensy as the target. We then pick players for the veto competition, where the HOH and T-Core, the 3 nominees in Makensy, Cam, and Tucker, and Joseph and Angela, selected by random draw, are all going to compete in this week's veto competition. This week's veto is the AI Apocalypse, and it's this season's iteration of the Yankee Swap competition, an absolutely iconic Big Brother comp. And judging on how well it went last season, I was fully expecting this week to go just as well. In this iteration, the HouseGuests have to use a slingshot to knock down robot cutouts, and the HouseGuest who gets the lowest score in each round is eliminated. But they don't go home empty-handed, as they do get to select whatever prize they get. However, players eliminated in rounds after that HouseGuests have the option to trade for that prize. Ultimately, the competition comes down to Cam and Tucker, and after Tucker misses his shot, Cam wins the competition, and the results end up like this. Tucker Angela and Joseph all end up with punishments. Makensy wins a Hawaii vacation. T-Core wins $5,000, and Cam comes out on top and wins the golden power of veto. The punishments this season were actually pretty entertaining. Tucker got the BB A.I assist punishment, where he had to wear this AI assist costume and then answer trivia questions whenever the AI came on the loudspeakers. Not only that did he have to answer them, he had to answer them correctly before he could finish it. And he has to do this for basically the entire week. And these questions can pop up at any time of the day or the night. Angela got the radioactive punishment, where she had to dress up in a hazmat suit and transport radioactive orbs from one side of the backyard to a barrel on the other side of the backyard. However, if that wasn't already hard enough, Angela only had 12 hours to do this, and if she didn't complete it in the 12 hours, she would not be eligible to compete in the next HOH competition. Adding on to that, Angela would periodically be sprayed with paint and have to quote-unquote decontaminate at periodic times throughout this time. And honestly, it was really difficult watching Angela go through this, as it was very obvious that she was struggling both physically and mentally. But through the support of everybody in the house, she was able to make it through, and it was honestly super heartwarming to see her get through this entire punishment. Joseph got sent into the Matrix, which is essentially 24 hours of solitary confinement. However, unlike other solitary confinements, this time he wasn't alone, as he was joined by the deepfake version of Matt, where Matt would continue talking and talking and talking, and he would not stop talking. And it was honestly so funny seeing Joseph essentially go crazy, hearing Matt just continuously ramble on about the most random things, like when he was counting to 1,000 without citing any A's, like when he said 8 like ATE instead of EIGHT, was honestly so funny, way funnier than it honestly should have been, but I absolutely enjoyed it. As the AI instigator, Tucker decides to create even more chaos. He uses the deepfake persona of Rubina to compliment Angela as the best twerker in the house, and then uses the deepfake of himself to call out Chelsie and Quinn as big threats in the game who need to be targeted. But despite all of these deepfakes, everybody assumes that it's Angela. And Tucker did not want this outcome because Tucker is very closely aligned with Angela. So Tucker goes and tells Angela about the rumors surrounding in the house about how Angela could possibly be this AI hacker. And this creates a lot of paranoia in Angela. And I mean an absolutely absurd amount. To the point where Angela spirals to the point where she is now wanting to target Tucker because she just no longer trusts Tucker and what he says. Angela gathers herself, Makensy, Leah, and Quinn in a room and proposes a plan to try and get Tucker out of the house this week. However, Quinn is in the room, so you know he's going to leak this information. Quinn immediately after this conversation goes to T-Core and Kimo and tells them about what Angela is saying in an attempt to save Leah from being the replacement nominee. Quinn also goes to Tucker and tells Tucker this same information, building a little bit of trust between the two of them. Tucker then goes to Angela and confronts her in the bathroom about what has been going on. And they have a bit of a blow up where they're both arguing with one another, where Tucker is proclaiming his loyalty to Angela, but Angela is telling him to his face that she does not trust him. And this creates so much chaos between the two of them. Now, despite this argument, Tucker still does not want Angela to go up on the block because Angela is still a number for the 6th Avenue side, and it would be easy for T-Core to keep the 6th Avenue numbers strong. So Tucker is campaigning hard for Leah to be the replacement nominee. But this campaigning is all for naught, as at the veto ceremony, Cam, as expected, uses the power of veto on himself, and T-Core names Angela as the replacement nominee against Tucker's wishes. It's at this point where Tucker absolutely just breaks down. Not necessarily emotionally, but more so kind of gives up. Tucker compares himself as a varsity player playing amongst a bunch of JV players because nobody is truly quote-unquote playing the game like how he perceives it. And he says that he can't trust anything going on in the house to Rubina, which makes Rubina question if what her and Tucker have is real. Now, eventually they do make up and they do become house official, but this was still a pretty interesting storyline nonetheless. It's at this point where Chelsie devises a plan to flip the house and get Tucker out, because Tucker is the biggest competition threat in the house, and Tucker essentially blew up Chelsea's initial power structure. So Chelsie goes to work rallying the votes of herself, Cam, Makensy, Leah, and Quinn to all flip the vote on Tucker if Tucker loses the AI arena. We then go to the BB A.I arena where Angela, Makensy, and Tucker are all competing for their safety. This week's AI Arena competition is called Puzzling Password, and what the HouseGuests have to do is assemble a puzzle that reveals a 10-digit passcode, to where once they find that, they have to go back to their board and find the correctly matching passcode. Whoever can do this the fastest and hit their buzzer first will win the AI Arena. Ultimately, this competition wasn't even really that close, as Makensy wins the AI Arena, winning her second AI Arena and ending Tucker's AI Arena's comp streak. In the final minutes before the live vote, Angela and Tucker are campaigning their butts off to try and stay in this house, but ultimately, come the live vote, by a vote of 5-3, Tucker is the 6th HouseGuest to be evicted from the Big Brother 26th house, with only Kimo, Joseph, and Rubina voting to keep him. Now it's time to get into the power rankings. At number 11, the most recently evicted HouseGuest, we unfortunately have Tucker, and I am so disappointed to see Tucker go. For the sake of Team Fun Feeds, it is absolutely heartbreaking and devastating to see Tucker go home this early. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Tucker is the clear both casual and online fan favorite. Like, Tucker was just such a unique personality, and he was such a chaotic presence that it's so insane the influence he had on this game, despite only making it about halfway into the season. Actually, he made it directly halfway into the season, considering it's a 90-day season, but I digress. Tucker is a one-of-a-kind player. He is unique, and I don't think we're ever going to see a player try and play like Tucker and be as successful as Tucker was. He was essentially the living Big Brother Daredevil. Like, he did not care about anything. He did everything on a whim, and he was just there to play the game, but play it in as chaotic of a way as possible. Now, is Tucker the best player in the world? Absolutely not. Is he one of the most entertaining players? Absolutely. Like, the fact that he was such a chaotic presence and nobody could ever predict what he was going to do in the game obviously made him a fan favorite, and that's why I loved him so much. I'm so disappointed to see him go home this early. And what sucks even more is the fact that he's not going to be on the jury. Like, there's not going to be any battle back. There's no twist saving him. He's genuinely just gone. He's going home. And that's really disappointing to see. But in terms of the game he played this season, it wasn't good. As much as I love Tucker, the game he played this season wasn't good, as he unnecessarily put himself in the line of danger way more often than he should have been. He volunteered himself on the block every single time since week 2. Like, every single time he wasn't safe, he volunteered himself up on the block since week 2, and that made him such a huge target. Adding on to that, how big of a competition threat he was, and it's obvious why Tucker was taken out in this position. It's the first time Tucker hasn't won safety or immunity in any sense, and it was the opportune time to take Tucker out. As if the competitions do get more physical towards the tail end, which Big Brother competitions typically are, then there was nobody who was going to be Tucker. So it's pretty obvious that Tucker was the pre-jury competition final boss that the HouseGuests had to overcome, and they were able to do that. And they evicted him in 11th, and it's super disappointing to see him go, but I absolutely love and appreciate everything that he brought to the show. But unfortunately, he is evicted here and is going to end up here at number 11.
Part of this punishment is I actually need to get these answers correct. And some of these questions are kind of difficult.
Now it's time to get to the players that are actually still in the game. At number 10, the HouseGuest I believe to be in the worst position in the house is Angela. And we are finally back to our regularly scheduled program of Angela being at the bottom of these power rankings. Angela was finally doing some good work. She was finally in a majority alliance. She was finally had some sort of safety. Like, T-Core didn't even want to put Angela up at all, but leave it up to Angela to blow up her own game because of her own paranoia. It's honestly insane to me that Angela mistrusted or distrusted Tucker of all people. Like, Tucker was the first person to give Angela a new breath of life in this game. And the fact that Angela didn't think that Tucker was going to be undyingly loyal to her is an absolutely insane sentiment. Like, Tucker was telling Angela with such conviction and with such passion that he was undyingly loyal to her. And Angela just still didn't believe that because of all of the paranoia she had created within her own head. And now she's essentially blown up her game for what, the third time now? Like, What is she doing? She genuinely has nobody left in the game who is going to be looking out for her. Sure, she was like on the very, very bottom of the 6th Avenue, but that was still a group of people who wanted to protect her, at least for the short term, because she was a number. But now that she's shown that she is still the loose cannon she's always been, nobody is really incentivized to keep Angela in the game anymore. And I definitely foresee her being the very likely next target, because she has now proven that if it's not some sort of mental competition, that Angela cannot win a competition to save her life. So Angela's in a lot of danger. She doesn't have any allies left in the game anymore, and she really has absolutely no outs, which is why I have her here at number 10.
So I was rolling that butt. That's my new thing.
At number 9, I have Makensy, and Makensy needed to win this AI arena or else she was going home. But both of the times Makensy has won the AI arena, it has led to absolutely iconic vote flips. So I can't really blame Makensy for winning these AI arenas. But outside of that, Makensy still has no idea what's going on in the house. Like, tell me how we are literally halfway through this game and Makensy is just now finding out all of the stuff that Tucker has been doing in the game. Like, have you not been paying attention? Like, what is going on? Now, I will give Makensy some credit. She has been doing some good work in building inroads with the likes of a Chelsie, which is gaining her some social capital in that sense, but it's still not enough. Makensy is still expendable. Makensy is still an easy target. Makensy is still an easy pawn that can easily be put up on the block, where if a primary target were to win the veto or the AI arena, then Makenzie's going home. She really has no weight in this game. She really doesn't have a solid enough position in this game to where people are incentivized to keep her around. I mean, this is the second time she has been brought into the vote on a very critical vote flip, but that's more so because she won the AI arena, and that's because she was a critical number that could have been used to help the vote flip. But Makensy can't win AI arenas forever because the AI arena twist isn't going to be around forever, and there's other people who are seen as more pivotal numbers than Makensy. So while Makensy is starting to win these competitions and build social capital in that sense, I still just don't believe Makensy has that much runway left. Maybe if she won an HOH and took out somebody on the 6th Avenue side, maybe somebody like a Kimo, I think that would do well for her game. But overall, Makensy just doesn't have a lot of runway left in this game. And if she doesn't correct things soon, I foresee her going home very soon, which is why I have her here at number 9.
I am ecstatic for T4. I really am. So well deserved. But usually we don't all follow the HOH like little lost puppies.
At number 8, I have Quinn, and Tucker going home is great for Quinn's game. It's very obvious that Tucker really didn't trust Quinn that much, and Tucker was going to take a shot at Quinn eventually. So Quinn being the first one to pull the trigger and get Tucker out is great for his game. However, I expect Quinn to get a lot of blowback from this move. Similar to how Joseph got a lot of blowback for the Cedric move, I expect Quinn to get a lot of blowback for this move, particularly from the likes of the rest of the Visionaries and Kimo and T-Core, because Quinn, I think, outright blindsided the absolute living hell out of the both of them. And now Quinn is in a pretty precarious position. Even though people like Chelsie say that they trust Quinn 100%, it's very clear that Quinn is on the bottom of those power structures. And now that Quinn has dismantled all of the trust he has with the visionary side of things, I think Quinn is going to be in a lot of trouble. I think Quinn is definitely expendable at this point, which is crazy to think of because of how valuable of an ally he was in the beginning of this game, but because of all of the lies and all of the mistrust and all of the ratting that he's done, he's built up this persona as being a schemer, as being somebody who's manipulative and deceptive, and now people are genuinely no longer trusting him. And that is really bad, especially when the people that he wants to trust the most in the Visionaries no longer trust him. And this move is not going to help him at all. Now, I do think it was the right move, but I think the way in which he handled it is definitely not going to be good. I don't think telling T-Core or Kimo would have changed the results of the eviction whatsoever, but it's still not good for Quinn's game. I think Quinn is definitely going to be in a precarious position. I think Quinn is definitely going to need to win at least an HOH in some of the upcoming weeks, maybe either this week, next week, or the week after that. But Quinn is definitely going to need to win an HOH in order to truly solidify his position, because as of right now, he's on the bottom of nearly everything. And if things keep going the wrong way for Quinn, Quinn is going to be in a lot of danger, which is why I have him here at number 8.
This is criminal! Have a heart! Splash her again. You can't do this! You should splash her again. Just do it, please, please. It heals me every time. Oh my gosh!
At number 7, I have Joseph, and Tucker leaving was the worst for Joseph's game. Joseph had a very clear and obvious final 2 with Tucker, and Joseph invested a lot of his capital into Tucker, and now that Tucker is gone, Joseph has very little left in this game. Tucker was a huge shield for Joseph and was keeping Joseph safe for a large portion of this game. But now that Tucker's no longer here, Joseph is left wide open. If somebody like a Chelsie were to win HOH, I'm pretty confident that Joseph would be the target. And Joseph would most likely go home because who is really working with Joseph? Like, outside of maybe Quinn and Leah, who is really fighting to keep Joseph in this game? Mind you, after this Tucker flip, I do think the likes of T-Core, Kimo, and Rubina need Joseph as a number because he is clearly on that side of the house, but still, Joseph is not in a very good position nonetheless. He is not that valuable of an ally where people actively want to keep him because they value him. They keep him around because he is a number that people need. They don't want to keep Joseph. They need to keep Joseph. And that is really bad for Joseph. I think Joseph's power structure was reliant on Tucker. Tucker needed to be here to keep him safe, and Joseph needed to take Tucker out much later on into the game, maybe like final 7, final 6, or final 5 in order for Joseph to stand a chance. But now that Joseph is left so vulnerable and out in the open so early on in the game, Joseph is in a lot of danger. I think Joseph needs to win this HOH. I think point blank period, Joseph needs to win this because he just doesn't have the protection that the people on the other side of the vote who are also blindsided have. He doesn't have that protection, and if Joseph doesn't get that through winning a competition soon, which we know he can't do, then I think Joseph is kind of screwed. Now, I do think Joseph still has some outs. I do think that the T-Core, Kimo, Rubina side are going to pick Joseph up out of necessity, which is good for him short term, but it's not looking too good for Joseph, which is why I have him here at number 7.
I'm thinking to myself, is this what love feels like? Is this what love tastes like? And the answer is yes.
At number 6, I have Rubina, and Tucker leaving is really bad for Rubina's game. I mean, Tucker and Rubina literally made themselves house official like the night before the eviction, so it's very obvious that Tucker was a huge shield for Rubina that would have kept Rubina safe in the game. But now that Tucker is gone, Rubina doesn't have that same protection. She does have the likes of T-Core and Kimo that are going to keep her safe, but I think Rubina is most likely the most expendable out of all 3 of them. I don't think Rubina is the most threatening out of all 3 of them, but I do think she is the most expendable, to where if a competition doesn't go her way or she gets really unlucky with certain comp results, I think Rubina is going to be in a lot of trouble. I do think Rubina does still have some semblances of bonds outside of T-Core and Kimo that could keep her safe. Maybe with somebody like a Makensy, like that could keep Rubina safe. But overall, it's not looking too good for Rubina. Tucker was a pivotal piece of Rubina's game. Whether Rubina likes it or not, it was just obvious how big of a duo they were. And it's pretty obvious how attached at the hip their games were. And now that Tucker is gone, Rubina has a lot of recovering to do. I do think she is garnering a lot of sympathy within the house because it's very obvious how close the 2 of them were. So maybe people will feel not as incentivized to go after Rubina from a sympathetic side. But I think we're past that point in the game where people are playing with their hearts. And I think Rubina is going to be in a lot of danger. I think Rubina needs, and I mean needs, to win a competition. And she hasn't done that yet, but she has proven herself to be at least somewhat competent in these comps. So maybe Rubina could pull out a surprise win. Who knows? But if Rubina gets really unlucky with certain comp results, Rubina is going to be in a lot of trouble, which is why I have her here at number 6.
In regular life, I don't care about anyone's opinion of me, but not in Big Brother. That's not how it works here. People's opinions of you are basically your game, and it determines sometimes how far you go and who wants to work with you.
At number 5, I have Kimo, and Tucker going home was really bad for Kimo's game. I mean, just like Rubina, Tucker was a pretty big shield for Kimo, but the difference is that Tucker wasn't as closely aligned with Kimo as he was with the likes of a Joseph or a Rubina. So Kimo doesn't actually take that much damage from Tucker going home, but it's still bad for Kimo's game nonetheless. Tucker was a huge shield, and now that that huge shield is gone, there is a very obvious trio in the house of himself, T-Core, and Rubina that needs to get taken out. And I think Kimo is perceived as the most threatening and the most dangerous out of all three of them. I mean, he's the only one out of that trio to win an AI arena. He knows how to fight for his life, and he's shown himself to be the pretty domineering strategic force behind that trio. It's pretty obvious that the moves that are being pushed are from Kimo, and I think people are starting to recognize that. So I think that's making Kimo the biggest threat out of the three of them. So if competitions don't go the right way for Kimo, Kimo is going to be in a lot of danger. Now, truth be told, I still think Kimo has a lot of bonds that are going to keep him safe, at least for the short term. He obviously has those inner workings with T-Core and Rubina, but he also has Quinn, he also has Joseph. I think Kimo still has some ground that he could manage, and if he plays it correctly, I think it could build him some longevity. But Tucker going home was really bad, and I mean really bad for Kimo's game. Even though Tucker wasn't as closely aligned to Kimo, Tucker was still a shield that Kimo needed. And now, if somebody like a Cam were to win HOH, I think Kimo is that optimal target that is targeted. And I think that Kimo is in a pretty precarious position, but he does still have some allies outside of T-Core and Rubina who do want to keep Kimo around, which is why I have him here at number 5.
I'm really nervous because I don't know what Avatar me is gonna say, but excited too because, I mean, what if it's something fun, you know? I'm hoping it's something fun and not something messy, though sometimes messy's fun.
At number 4, I have T-Core, and this was a bad HOH. Like, I'm not debating that. This was a bad HOH. Like, this maybe it wasn't as bad as Quinn's HOH, but it was essentially like Quinn's HOH, where Makensy won the AI arena and one of her allies was sent home because of that. It just doesn't, a lot of the decisions she makes this week just don't make a lot of sense. Like, you have the 6th Avenue Alliance and you're granting immunity to Chelsie, so that leaves the only people you should be targeting are Cam, Makensy, and Leah. But for some reason, she wants to put Tucker up on the block. And I think that's in an attempt to try and save face with the house. But still, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I think T-Core said that even if Tucker didn't volunteer himself to go up on the block, T-Core still wanted to put Tucker up regardless. And seeing how the comps laid out for the rest of the week, that is so bad. Like, it doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? I just don't get it. A lot of the decisions she make this week just make very little sense, at least to me. Like, her choosing to put up Angela instead of Leah was what sent Tucker home, in my opinion. Like, I genuinely think that was one of the worst moves that T-Core could have made in this position. She genuinely didn't want to put Leah up because it would upset her, which on a personal level makes sense, but on a game level, you do not have an alliance with her. You do not have an alliance with her, you have an alliance with Angela. And while Angela may be blowing things up, Angela is blowing things up and making herself a bigger target. So why would you put Angela up on the block and risk one of your potential alliance members going home when you have somebody like Leah who isn't in that alliance and somebody who you could take out and you don't have a very strong game relationship with? Like, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And the fact that Tucker was the collateral damage of this makes it even worse. Now, I will say out of the T-Core, Kimo, Rubina trio, I think T-Core is the safest because she has the most bonds outside of that trio with the likes of a Chelsie and a Quinn, which are going to keep her safe for the short term, but I think she still is going to be in a pretty dangerous position. I mean, I think either Chelsie or Cam said that if they were to win HOH, the nominees would be T-Core, Kimo, and Rubina. And while T-Core wouldn't be the target or even the collateral damage, that's still not good because it essentially guarantees T-Core is going to lose one of her allies. So all in all, she had a really bad HOH. She's in a pretty bad position as of right now, but she still does have some outs, which is why I have her here at number 4.
Personally, I never really wanted to work with her as she joined our alliance kind of non-consensually.
At number 3, I have Cam, and winning the veto was honestly really good for Cam's game. I think winning the veto was able to buy Cam a lot of social capital, and it opened up a lot of opportunities for him to play the game a lot more aggressively because he was essentially guaranteeing his own safety. He was able to be involved with the Tucker blindside, and while he was certainly emotional about the decision, it is an overall net positive for his game. it gets a huge competitive threat out in Tucker. And if these competitions do end up getting more physical, I think Cam is the front runner in that sense. Now that he's won this first competition, I think he's just going to slowly continue building up more and more momentum. And I think that's going to pay Cam off in dividends. I think this week opens up a lot of opportunities for Cam. Now that he is actively playing the game and he is actively being involved in a lot more strategic conversations, I think this does open up a lot of opportunities for Cam to maneuver himself and position himself within the overall dynamics of the house much better. It's obvious that he has a final two in Chelsie, and now that Chelsie has emerged as this power player through flipping the vote on Tucker, I think Cam gains the subsidiary effects of that. Now that Cam is essentially going to be the second in command to Chelsie, I think that's going to be doing a lot of good for Cam. I think if Cam can continue playing a bit more of a social game and not turn on the competition prowess at least too early to where he makes himself such a big target, I think Cam is honestly going to go pretty far. Cam is once again proving that being just an affable, likable dude and a playable ally is paying off for his game. And it's funny considering all of the memes surrounding him and how he's essentially just laid back and chill. But if he turns off that laid back and chillness and starts playing this game a bit more aggressively, I think it's going to put him in a really good position to win this game. And if he continues building all these bonds and putting himself in more positions of power, I think Cam is going to continue doing very well, which is why I have him here at number 3.
It's the AI apocalypse and I might have had to just save the world.
At number 2, I have Leah, and let's get the big glaring issue out of the way. Leah was almost the replacement nominee, and if Makensy wins the AI arena like she actually does, I don't know if Leah has the votes to stay, because I don't know if Angela would feel incentivized to take Tucker out in this position when Leah is up on the block. Now, mind you, Angela was campaigning to keep Leah off the block, which essentially got herself put up on the block, but still, Leah getting put up as the replacement nominee would have most likely ended up with her getting evicted much earlier than I think she probably would have expected. But the fact that she had such strong bonds with the likes of Joseph and Quinn is what saved her from the block. And now that she has been able to use those relationships to the best of her ability, she is now in an open position. Like, in the past weeks, I've been struggling with whether to call her a coaster or a floater, but I think this week cements her as a floater. I think she's playing the middle perfectly. She is this pivotal swing vote that people want to keep around, instead of somebody like a Makensy, which is just a number that they're picking up for the sake of the vote, but they're not included in a lot of strategic talks or alliances or things like that. But with Leah, people actually do want to involve her in stuff. People actually do want to work with Leah and keep her at least alliance adjacent. And I think that is going to pay off well for Leah. And if she can continue playing this floater middle position, I think she is going to have a lot of longevity in this game. Now, I do think Leah is going to have to put herself out there just a bit more, at least strategically, because I don't think a lot of people in the house necessarily respect her game because of how perceivably passive it is. But overall, I think if Leah can continue playing this middle floater position, I think if she can continue building this social capital, I think Leah is going to be in a prime position to make it to the end of this game, which is why I have her here at number 2.
What is happening? Is there another secret power? And how do I continue to be excluded from things time and time again? Can I win anything, please? Like, hello, America, I exist. What's going on here?
At number 1, the house guest I believe to be in the best position in this game as of week 6 is Chelsie, and Chelsie has finally reclaimed her power. She had to play possum a little bit and hide in the shadows for a couple of weeks after the implosion of the Pentagon, with losing her 2 closest allies in Cedric and Brooklyn. But now that she's been able to strike and take out her biggest competition in Tucker, this game is literally open for Chelsie to take. As long as she doesn't get too comfortable and let her relationships fall to where people feel the incentive to blindside and flip on her, I think Chelsie is going to be in a great position. I think she is going to learn from those mistakes, and I think she's going to continuously keep working on all of her relationships and maintain them and keep them so close to her that nobody even gets an inkling of a thought of turning against her. And I think that is great for Chelsie. Getting Tucker out is Chelsea's optimal move. Tucker was probably the only person in the house who was actively targeting Chelsie and was seeing Chelsie as this immediate threat who needed to get taken out. And with Tucker's comp ability, if he were to survive this week and most likely win the next HOH, Tucker would have targeted Chelsie. And I don't know if Chelsie can win out a POV win or an AI arena win like she did last time. So Chelsie getting Tucker out in this position is absolutely great for her. Adding on to that, the fact that Chelsie was so active in gaining numbers to flip this vote essentially gives her more allies. She obviously had Cam, but now she's picked up the likes of Leah, Makensy, and has rekindled her bond with Quinn. And the fact that she has all of these numbers now, with bonds on the other side with the likes of a T-Core, I think Chelsie is in a prime position to run the rest of this game. As long as things don't get too chaotic for her and the alliance doesn't flip on her yet again and her power structure crumbles beneath her feet yet again, I think Chelsie is going to be in a prime position to run this game. Now, people are saying that, oh, Chelsea's going to win 7-0 in a vote, which I don't necessarily believe, considering like we don't even know if that's going to happen, considering we don't even know how much like respect Chelsie is gaining in terms of like her game. But still, in terms of her position, Chelsie is playing an absolutely amazing game right now. She was able to recover from the blindside and the loss of her two closest allies and put herself back in this power position, which is why I have to put her here at number 1.
I'm over the real version of these people and the fake version too.
Overall, this week of Big Brother was yet another chaotic one. If you couldn't tell with how I was talking about the power rankings, nearly everybody in this power ranking has glaring holes in their game and in their position. And that's why I feel like I was talking so overtly negative about a lot of people, despite some of them being pretty high on this power ranking, in the likes of like a T-Core or Kimo. Despite them being in the upper half of the list, I was still pointing out pretty glaring holes in their games. And they're pretty massive ones because of how open this game is right now. With Tucker, who's been this power player for the past couple of weeks now gone, this game is split wide open, and it feels like if it could genuinely be anybody's for the taking. It could be an underdog and somebody like Makensy winning power and flipping the house and regrouping with some other people, or it could be somebody like a Chelsie who's already in this power position and continues to run the game until the end. It really is open for nearly anything to happen, and I am absolutely loving this season for it. Like, the fact that all of this chaos is going down, the fact that I genuinely don't know who's going home coming into the live eviction episode, and when the feed shut off, I'm so ecstatic about how this season is going on. And as long as there's no zombie week or some crazy twist that absolutely halts the gameplay for this season, I genuinely think Big Brother 26 is going to be a top tier season. But those are just my thoughts. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends if you have any of those, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.
Singing in the BB. Can you hear me singing? In the BB. Can you hear me singing? BB. Singing in the BB. BB. Singing in the BB house.
Amazing.